All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us for today's edition of our Cybersecurity Mentoring Group, where we share, we learn, and we connect with other cybersecurity professionals. Today, we have a very important guest, and I think if you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably have seen some stories that I put up about Doyin yesterday, and I'm sure you will enjoy the session. So, as we will always do, we try to get everyone, in case you're joining us for the first time, Cybersecurity Mentoring Group is something I thought would help new professionals or people who want to come into the profession to exactly connect with other professionals and maybe hear from their stories and see how they can navigate their own career. Last year, I published the cybersecurity skills, competencies, and certifications, which basically was to look at jobs that were published between January and August 2023, and then analyze them to identify the top skills that employers are looking for, the top competencies and the certifications in the industry. Through that publication, we at least were able to document the top 20 certifications and the top 20 certifications, top 20 jobs that employers were really looking for within that time. This year, we thought it is also good to do the second edition. We currently have about 7 volunteers who are spending time to get jobs in Nigeria, Canada, US, and United Kingdom. And hopefully by October or November, we'll be publishing the second edition of the cybersecurity skills, competencies, and certifications. The second announcement I have is about cyber researchers, people who would like to hone their skills, volunteer their time, and then, given opportunity to share some of their learnings. We've had 2 of them that have shared their experience and given a topic, and they researched on it and then present. We're hoping that we will get more people who will be interested. Today we have 1, and we'll be sharing at once we entertain our guest. The last item here is the cyber scribes. These are people we hope that will volunteer their time to help document the conversation we would have, just like we'll do today. And it is because cybersecurity really, there are some soft elements of it, which is the soft skills that are required, and ability to listen, an ability to document technical things in non-technical ways. And the cyber scribes will give you that opportunity to be able to do that. And as you probably must have seen on our YouTube page, you will see a summary of the conversation that we had. And I have done the last editions, and I'm hoping that I can get someone to volunteer their time to learn. All right, so on the right-hand side, there are the past editions that we have had. And just going ahead to the next. So last week, or last edition, 2 weeks ago, we had Ikechukwu Ogoji, who was a 3-time CISO, has been CISO for 3 organizations, 2 banks and 1 fintech, and currently is a group CISO for a Pan-African bank. So what we try to do through this session is to more like go over the last edition and bring out some main points. If you go to the YouTube page, you will find this recording and this summary, or you want to listen to the conversation. Like everybody, Ikechukwu did not start off as a cybersecurity professional. He started off in sales, even though he had a technical background, which is in engineering. But the opportunity that was available at that time was sales, and it was in sales. But he said he wanted something bigger. He wanted a profile that gives him global recognition. And so he attended a program. You will see that part of it in the video or in the summary. So he attended a program, and he says that, I can't remember that quote now, but he was talking about that the regret most people would have is the things that they should have tried that they didn't try. And therefore, he approached the IT leader for an opportunity in the IT team, and they said there's a space for cyber, I think CISA, not CISA, auditor. And then he approached the leader told him, you don't have CISA, and he said, I will get it in 6 months. And that was a challenge, and he was able to get that, and that started his journey into cybersecurity. So then, because this topic we treated was the different teams that are in cybersecurity, so he explained that the red team are those that take adversarial approach to system defense, which is that they focus on finding vulnerability in systems. They are what people will call hackers today, or the bad guys, or they are the ethical hackers. Then the blue team are those that are responsible for building your security defenses, configuring systems properly, and patching them so that they don't break into them. And the last team, as he explained, were the purple team. The purple teams is, according to him, is a construct. It's just a team that is created to bring the attackers and the defenders together so that they work towards the goal of the organization. Then the last thing we asked him is about the learning opportunity. So in his view, he thinks that certifications is important for the profession, for you to be able to grow, and as also indicated in his own experience, without that certification, maybe he wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. And then he said certifications validate your skills, and there are many places in the internet you can go to get that learning. Enough of last week. We need to go straight ahead into this week's conversation. And this week, we are having none other person than Doyin Omoyajowo. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, of course, Omoyajowo.
So Doyin was my colleague. I think as I already shared on LinkedIn, Doyin was my colleague when we worked together in InterSwitch. And I will leave, again, basic introduction. Doyin studied information technology from the Valley View University in Ghana, and also a master's degree in university in IT from University of Lagos. Permit me to also mention that Doyin got a first class, so she's a brainiac. And also, as you have seen in her certification, she's done CISSP and CCSP, which is from the ISC2, PCB, AWS, and also eCouncil. And let me allow Doyin to give us more of what I did not say. Doyin, welcome, and can we meet you?
Yes, sure. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure. And my name is Doyin Omoyajowo, as Wale has rightly introduced, and I'm a cybersecurity professional. And I started my career basically out in the banking industry. And over the last 7 years, I'm currently with the consulting or in the consulting field. And my journey in cybersecurity has been quite interesting, right? Because I started out from the technical part of cybersecurity, and now more around the GRC, governance, risk, and compliance bit. And due to my love for learning, I've taken a couple of certifications like the CISSP. I basically actually started out using the Cisco CyberOps, and that had gotten through a scholarship. But when I go into the details of my journey into cybersecurity, I can break that down. The last 7 years has been wonderful, and I encourage anybody, if and truly you really desire to be in the field, to come join us, and I mean, we can better secure the cyberspace. At Deloitte, I work as a cybersecurity manager, where I help our clients to assess their security posture, of course, secure their environments, and basically build cyber resilience.
Excellent. Thank you for the so bank, fintech, then consulting. Wow, what a journey. Now, I want to understand from your journey, how did you get into cybersecurity, or how did you decide that of all the fields in IT, or all the field, haven't gotten a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology and a master's degree in Information Technology? What exactly is about cybersecurity that made you want to go with it?
Well, I would even go a step back, because I didn't actually even plan out to be in tech because of cybersecurity. And I mean, I'd just like to say the story. I'm more of a storyteller. So when I finished secondary school, basically, of course, the normal trajectory is to go into university. And I wanted to do a medical course. But at that time, it didn't work out as planned. Then I thought I'm not going to sit at home, right, for a year to get into university. So I asked, what are the next options? I was told computer security, information technology. Trust me, I don't even know what those were at that point in time. So of course, I went to Google. I did a couple of research. I spoke to someone I knew just to get counsel. So okay, fine, I'll do information technology. 3 years after uni, of course, you're expected to specialize, right? And I mean, a lot of colleagues were going into programming, but at that point in time, I really did enjoy it, right? And in my final year, there was an elective called computer security. I was like, okay, this seems like it's going to be interesting. And I mean, I took up the course, and it was just fascinating that with metadata, you can get so much information. At that point in time, we did some email analysis. I was like, yeah, I really want to do this, right? At school in Ghana, so when I came back to Nigeria for my 1-year mandatory service to the country, I served at a university, and that university had a Cisco academy, right? So, I mean, I love learning, right? I want to be a better person, right? So I went to the Cisco academy and I thought to take the Cisco CCNA. And at that point, Cisco was actually trying to encourage people to come into cybersecurity field. I mean, 7-8 years ago, it wasn't as it was right now. The level of support was not there. So I felt, okay, what is this security? I mean, I knew what security was. I was like, wow, this is a good opportunity, right? So let me take the exam. I took the exam and I was actually awarded the scholarship. Few months down the line into NYC, I, of course, the normal trajectory, you want to get a job. So I got a job in banking as a graduate training, and the idea really as a graduate of management training is to train you for the future, right? The organization wants to ensure you understand every aspect of banking so that in the future you become a leader. So that means you'll have to go to a training school where you're expected to be trained in different areas. Then this fateful day, I mean, as per the course outline, the CISO of the bank came to give a lecture on information security, and I knew that was my chance. So when he came to the class, and of course, at that point, he started, of course, with the basics, the CIA triangle, and he was asking the questions, confidentiality. I mean, I was literally giving him on-point answers, integrity, availability. At the point, he had to tell me I should keep short, right? Because he felt I was cheating, because it was just too good to be true. To be honest, I felt a little bit embarrassed at that point in time, but I knew what I wanted, right? So after the class, I walked up to him and told him, no, I wasn't cheating. I tried to advocate for myself. I'm taking this course in Cisco CyberOps, and I'm going to write the exam soon. And I was quite impressed, right? And that way he was able to say, oh, that is why this lady has this knowledge, right? Because he wasn't expecting anybody in that class at that time to actually understand what was going on. To be honest, did I have a full understanding of what it was? I didn't. But the little I knew, right, I was able to talk about it. And he said, fine, let's keep in touch. Few months down the line, during the graduate training process, he reached out to me and asked me that there's a role that needs to be filled. And would I like to interview? I said, yes, of course. I went to the interview. I did fantastic well. And I think the major point here is preparation meeting opportunity, right? Because I know that people here on this call who are, maybe trying to change career paths or basically even wanting to get into cybersecurity field. It's important to be ready because the opportunities would come, but are you ready to actually take them, right? So, I mean, I did the interview, got into the team, and I don't see the rest is history. 7 years down the line, I'm just sharing my experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I got into the
Thank you. Wow, that's interesting, and I like the fact that you were just not sitting down. You were actually pursuing knowledge. Thank you for sharing part of your. I didn't know this part. now I know. I know. Yeah. All right. So now straight to our topic of the day. You and I had this conversation around what is this imposter syndrome that you know, when I reached out to Doyin, I said, Doyin, I would like you to come and just share some things with us. And he said, you should like to talk about this topic. And I said, what exactly is this thing? And so the question I asked you in private is also asking you now publicly. What exactly is imposter syndrome? And if you can just share maybe generally, maybe to as it applies to everybody or as it applies to the specific conversation we're having today.
Yeah, of course. Imposter syndrome is basically a prolonged feeling of considering yourself like a fraud. And people who battle with imposter syndrome basically have this feeling of self-doubt where they undermine their skills, their experience, and they basically think most of what they've achieved, or if not all they've achieved, is due to luck, right? And recent or previous or earlier research in this field actually thought imposter syndrome was more of a high achieving woman issue, right? Of course, because of the stereotype. However, further research in recent times have seen that this is not just about high achieving women, right? And about 70% of people are actually going to be impacted by imposter syndrome at one point or the other in their lives, right? So this is an issue that affects a lot of people. And there are a couple of factors, right, that impact, feeling that way, right? Feeling you are not good enough, the feeling of self-doubt, right? Lowering your skills, your competence. And a couple of them could be due to personality traits. So for example, if you are a perfectionist, the moment you start making a mistake, you think you're not good enough. And the truth is, everybody makes mistakes, right? And another could be gender stereotypes, right? We have a lot of women wanting to gain entrance into the cybersecurity industry. However, that challenge in itself could pose women feeling they're not good enough, right? Or they're not even going to be accepted. Another one I could even mention is family background, right? Some people are from a family of high achievers. And when you're from a family of high achievers, there's that tendency that you always have to compete. There's that tendency you always have to have that comparison. So you feel you're not good enough. You always want to prove yourself. Or even when you are coming into a field like cybersecurity, where you need a high level of skills. There are varying areas. There are a lot of certifications that needs to be done. There's that feeling like maybe I don't know, because some people are talking about cyber resilience today. Tomorrow, some people are talking about AI. Another day, some people are talking about security operations analysis. Some people are talking about the strategy development. You're like, where do I start from? So of course, being in cybersecurity, there are days you're going to feel like you're not good enough, right? But that shouldn't stop you, because the truth is, not everybody doesn't know it all, right? And you are not alone, right, in this journey. So it's an issue that affects a vast majority of people. But of course, people in highly skilled areas like cybersecurity or the tech industry are more impacted.
Excellent, thank you. This is really so. You mentioned self-doubts. How do people come to the point where they start doubting themselves? Or thinking that they are not good enough? Because for instance, if you have been able to go through university, interview for a job, you've gotten a job, and then you suddenly get to the point. Are there things that you can say that are likely to make people feel incompetent?
Yeah, I think one of the things could be failure, right? The moment people fail, there's that tendency to feel like I'm not good enough. And I think it's very important to practice self-compassion. The truth is, most of the time we hear of success stories, but even before the success stories, there are a lot of failures hidden that people do not want to talk about, because it doesn't feel good to talk about failure. So most people, when they experience failure and they see every other person succeeding, or seems like every other person is succeeding, they start to compare and they just feel like, they are not good enough. And a couple of it that causes it are the family dynamics. I talked about your personality trait in itself, coming into a new field, and especially a highly skilled field like cybersecurity, are some of the things that actually lead to imposter syndrome, because you're already good enough, right? Of course, you need to keep upskilling and learning more. However, all of these factors would greatly impact.
Thanks so much. What you mentioned about family background, I heard a story about a young man who was actually the best in his class. He got 6 distinctions and maybe 2 or 3 Bs. But he was embarrassed in his family because that was the poorest.
It
was the best.
I
think I thank you for substantiating that. Now, coming to the field of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is a highly skilled field. In fact, that is why many countries are even looking for people who have experience in cybersecurity. And how do you think, or why do you think that imposter syndrome may be impacting cybersecurity professionals the most?
Okay. Like you said, cybersecurity is a highly skilled field. However, isn't just highly skilled, it is also highly competitive. And the thing with cybersecurity is the fact that you keep having this ever-evolving, ever-changing trend, technology landscape. It means the threat landscape also is going to keep evolving, right? It means we have to keep catching up. In recent times, due to the advancement in the areas of AI, you now have a lot of people also talking about AI now, AI GRC, AI this, AI that, right? People need to, you like you're always playing catch up, right? So, and also the burden on a cybersecurity professional to secure sensitive information and critical assets, it's a lot of burden, right? Because you know the impact of you not doing your job well, you know the impact it can have on an organization, even people, of course, when we talk about personal information and also the society at large. Let's say we're looking at critical infrastructures, right? So you know the importance of your work and what it could lead to if you do not do your work properly, right? So those are some of the factors that lead to that. And however, I've seen a research that was conducted recently, and 58% of people, not specifically in the cyber industry now, tech industry, 58% of people actually at one point or the other, you know, are currently experiencing imposter syndrome. I mean, it's expected, right? Because I mean, the cybersecurity field, right? So the burden of, you know, having to perform, right? And also with the way it impacts cybersecurity professionals, right? It could lead to, you know, you not being able to innovate, right? So with innovation, it's coupled with you having your skills and also most importantly, self-belief. However, when you doubt yourself, you want to be careful as possible, right? So you are scared of innovating because you do not want to make a mistake, right? And also because of that, you are in that constant loop of imposter syndrome, constantly doubting yourself. So it's a loop, it keeps going, right? And that can even eventually lead to psychological problems like depression and even, you know, depression and anxiety, right? And there's that constant fear as well. I don't want to feel, like I said, you are protecting critical infrastructures, you are protecting personal information, you're protecting critical assets. There's a lot on your shoulders. So these are some of the, you know, really, at this point, that's why cybersecurity, right? The imposter syndrome is really affecting a lot of people in that field.
Yeah, thanks. In fact, you know, sometimes when you go on LinkedIn, so there was one of our mentors that we invited, and it was sharing. He said that sometimes you see somebody comes and say, "I passed CISM, I passed CISSP." That success is what you are reading, but you don't know exactly if they have even failed before or if they have failed more than 10 times. But that single success is what you will read. And that single success is what somebody will now carry and say, hey, somebody has passed this exam and I'm still struggling with it. You know, sometimes people say LinkedIn profile, they could introduce imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I totally understand that, right? And I think as individuals, it's your responsibility to consume information in a particular way, right? So the information is out there. It can go two ways. It either makes you feel less of yourself, or basically it makes you are motivated. And however, you can't continuously compare your journey to that of others because you have different goals. People are in different paths, right, in their career. You're just an entry level. Do you want to get a CISSP? Is that what you need to get at this point? So if someone gets a CISSP, good, they're probably at that point in their career, but are you at that point in your career? So it's important, right, for you to have your own goals and things that are actually actionable. So not just continuously, as you know, comparing yourself to others, comparing the certifications people have. However, it should be a motivation for you to get yours in line with your specific goals.
Thank you. That was a very good point in terms of your journey. So I think that's almost like going into our next question, which is around how can cybersecurity professional deal with this? How can they deal with imposter syndrome? And are there team or organizational culture? I think you mentioned maybe earlier around either society or family background that could have. But are there team or organizational culture that can promote this, that is promoting the pressure on cyber? And what can leaders do, even team members do, to not to promote or not to create an environment where imposter syndrome is the order of the day?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that question. I'll just take it in sections. And for the very first bit as to what cybersecurity professionals can do, I think the very first step is acceptance, right? Accept that there is a problem. Once you accept there's a problem, it's easier for you to actually work on that problem, right? And come to a reasonable resolution or find ways to manage it. Another thing you can do is to talk about it. Of course, talk about it to people you trust, right? Of this issue. Talk about the issue with your mentors, right? So people who are going to remind you of your achievements, who are going to remind you, basically of who you are, right? And, what you've done. And I remember the point in my career where I really felt imposter syndrome was when I'd gotten a job right from Nigeria and moved over to the UK, right? And being new to the consulting field, I'm sitting in that room, I'm looking different. Maybe I'm the only Black person in the room. Maybe if you're looking at it, maybe just 2 females. And all of a sudden now I have to be the expert. I have to sit in front of clients. I have to answer questions even that I'm not prepared for, right? And that's it. But I made sure that didn't stop me, right? That fear, I converted it into, an opportunity, right? Seeing that if there are specific areas I needed to work on, for example, maybe my communication skills, the ability to be able to stand confidently. I'm not the type that when I go on calls, I like opening my videos. I'm going to shut the sales, right? Because I don't want you to see my face, But over time, right, in the process of communicating in the professional field, you need to do some of these things. So it's me identifying that, okay, there's a possible challenge here, and it's something I can probably work on. And that has made me a better person. So acceptance is important. Speaking to mentors, right? People who can help you, remind you of your achievements is very important. Also, take stock of what you've done in the past, right? Your achievements. When you're facing challenges or in the face of failure, it's easier for you to think, oh, I'm a failure, and forget every other thing you've done to succeed. The other time you're talking about, you've gone to university, you've done different things, you've excelled. Why do you think you're now a failure all of a sudden? Because you just failed at one particular step. So take stock and use that to, make yourself feel better. And I have a story around that. So when I got to, of course, the consulting field, Deloitte, where I am currently, I'd been promoted to manager. Even though I decided to go for promotion like 5 months into coming into the firm, my colleague was like, wow, you really want to go for it? I said, yes, I'm competent, right? When it was announced that I had been promoted, he broke the news to me. It was mixed feeling. I was so happy, but at the same time, I was scared. Like, what I felt, okay, I've gotten it. And I happen to have an amazing people lead, someone who listened. And I told him, I voiced my fear immediately. And he had to tell me, Doyin, there's no reason for you to fear. There's no reason for you to doubt. Because if you are not operating at this level already, your new level, you wouldn't have been promoted. And even went ahead to give me further assurance, letting me know that I came top of the assessments. I had nothing feedback to work on. And that really boosted my confidence. And it's like, don't worry, when we get to the next phase, Doyin, we are going to handle it together. You need those kind of people in your life. You need friends who will support you. You need family who will support you, because at every time or once in a while, we are going to get into a form of roadblock, right? Or we are going to doubt ourselves, right? And sometimes imposter syndrome also, when you have a new job, you are coming to a new field, or you have a new set of responsibility, the possibility of it creeping in is actually very high. So another point I would have is upskilling, right? Getting knowledge makes you confident. That's just the truth. If you know your onions, there's just this level of confidence that follows you around, So upskilling, if you identify an area you think you're not competent, it's okay for you to, go and study, try to upskill. That would also improve your level of confidence and reduce, you feeling like a fraud or, scared you're going to be found out, and all of that. And I think most importantly, don't let it stop you, because at one point or the other, you might have that feeling, right? But it shouldn't let you stop you. Okay, you felt that way, and so what? If you let it hold you back, the possibility of you regretting it is higher later. However, if you go ahead with your instincts, try to prove yourself, even if you fail, then you practice self-compassion. You're not the first person to fail, and you will not be the last, right? So even if you fail, ensure that you practice self-compassion. And go again for it. And also, I said most importantly, how many times now? And also, practice self-gratitude, right? Be thankful for what you have. It goes a long way in you feeling better as a person. So that is one part of your question.
Yeah.
To the other part, you'd mentioned what can leaders do, what can
leaders, team,
do?
what can you do to not to encourage or not to put pressure that makes imposter syndrome a normal thing?
Exactly. So I will start with teams, for example. So I think it's really important to work as a team, right? So for example, if you're coming to the cybersecurity field, due to the impact some of the things you're going to do is going to have, you might be scared of even trying. However, if teams have a structure in place, a structural review, which we have really well in the consulting industry, whereby when you make a mistake, there's a high possibility the next person is going to catch it. If the next person is not going to catch it, the next person is going to catch it, right? So that way, it allows beginners to have that level of confidence that, yes, I can try, because even if I make a mistake, I have two people in front of me who are going to review my work and who is going to catch it, right? And so basically, what am I saying? Build processes in place, right? That processes enables you to give people that opportunity, because if people are not given the opportunity to actually, utilize the skills, how do they get better, really? So putting those processes in place. And also for leaders, I think making yourself available to listen to others is actually very important. Also being that form of encouragement. I talked about how my people leader had encouraged me at different points in time. I talked about if you have a mentor or if you can get a mentor, you can speak to them about these challenges. The mentor might not basically may even give you the exact answer you want. However, they will ask you critical questions that will make you reevaluate the situation, right? So for leaders, you've gone through this part. You probably have felt that way at one point or the other, right? So you have that experience, and providing that support to other people. And that's a good way. And of course, maybe with something like this you're doing, right? Organizing this channel for people to come in, for people to learn is also a good way to get that information out there and let people know that they are not alone on this journey.
Thank you very, very much. I think I've documented some of your high points, and the point you mentioned about leaders helping their maybe somebody that is working with you and giving them that confidence. I think I remember one of my just a few hours ago, I was thinking I'm going to write about people that I've worked with that have really helped me and given me opportunities. So there was a time I was in network, and so I was in security, and we're managing firewalls. So I'd done a Cisco in a lab environment, and I was to change the core gateway Cisco firewall of Globacom then. And I spoke to my manager. I said, Wale, you can do it. Go and do it. I was like, this man, you want to, this is the core network of a telecom company. You want me to go? I said, I know what you can do. Go and do it. That single push. Yeah. I did it. And it's like my confidence rose to some level that I can't even describe. He gave me that opportunity. And it wasn't out of nothing. He gave me that. I probably have seen what I've done before, and he thought I could do it, and he really, really encouraged me. So I'm going to write about him. I'm going to write about him.
Just like based on what you said, I actually have a similar experience, but for me, it was the other way. I'd done something because I wanted to fix an issue and literally failed. However, sometimes the way you help people manage their failures is also very important. So I'll just go over the example. So at that point in time, I discovered a security risk, right, in the organization's infrastructure on the NAC solution, that's the Network Access Control solution. I discovered that the configuration did not cover some critical segments, right? So I reached out to the network team. There are some segments of the bank that's not covered, right? This is a gap, right, of which you have the network access solution. However, there are some areas that are not in scope. So the solution is not covering all. So I went to the network team. However, they didn't have a proper documentation of all the network segments. So I reached out to the vendor at that point to say, what can I do? I can say they didn't send me a message. I saw solution problem and I just wanted to fix by force, So he told me you can define a wildcast, right? Which is going to cover end to end the segments of the network. And I was like, yes, that's a good example. So I went there myself because I had access to configuring the system. I started really from a technical part before I moved to GRC. I went in there and defined the wildcast. And immediately I committed, I noticed my network flipped up. Apparently, configuring the wildcast, took in the call switch, the call router, things I should have exempted from the rule. I didn't exempt it, and the whole network of the bank went down immediately. So I didn't even know what was happening. Then later I knew that in the IT team, they were running around. Apparently, it was what I did. However, the CISO at that time, it was someone that gave me a lot of opportunity. It was also someone, due to the competence and the value I bring to the team, he understood where I was coming from. However, the major lesson I learned there was to follow processes. Stakeholder communication is very important, right? I discovered the risk. However, in fixing the problem, I caused the higher problem, of course, availability, which is one of the CIA triad, right? So, however, the way I wasn't punished, right, for that situation, because if I was being punished, I'm not saying you should not punish people. However, you should let people feel safely sometimes, right? Especially when they have good intentions and they can absolutely learn from it. So that providing that support, even when they fail, giving them opportunity, having the processes in place, providing that support, all of that is really vital in helping people manage imposter syndrome.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, this your story. It made me remember one of something that happened also in my career. Wow, that was, this one was about recharge card, but I was paid for another day. It was an error that I made, but
yeah,
I was covered actually. I was covered. Now, we're almost at the end of our conversation. Now, there are cybersecurity professionals on the call. So, like I told you privately, there are people who want to come into cybersecurity. There are people who are in cybersecurity and they're looking for what next. And also there are people that are new. So they are already in cybersecurity, but they are new. It looks like now they're looking at the screen and say, CSSP that I heard that people fail every time. Somebody has gotten it. He has gotten this one. He has gotten, where am I going to start from? What do you have to tell people in that category?
Well, I think the first thing is seek knowledge, right? Don't get carried away by the numbers of certifications, because certifications are, of course, a validation that you are competent. However, before you even get to that point, number one, seek knowledge. Because I understand these certifications are expensive, and they're expensive to write, they're also expensive to maintain, right? So, of course, in developing your plans, you can't just want to wake up and get in cybersecurity and you want to go and write everything. It doesn't work that way, right? So, baby steps, right? And like I said, practice self-compassion, have your own goal, right? You can look up to somebody, right, to say, this is what this person has done. In a couple of years, I want to get there, but have your own goal. And I mean, limit the comparison really a bit. So the first thing I would say is get knowledge. And there are different resources to which you can get knowledge, some of which, I used when I came into the cybersecurity field. If you're interested in penetration testing, for example, you can try the Try Hack Me or the Hack the Boss environment, which gives you that lab environment to practice.
Sorry, Doyin. The stuff you just mentioned now, maybe if it is possible for me to get them in the chat or something, but you can go on. Maybe when we get to question and answer, you can help us type.
I can type it out.
Yeah, please go on.
That's fine. Another vital resource is the University of YouTube. There's so much information on YouTube that you can get. That's a good place to start. And of course, it is free. The likes of Coursera as well. I remembered when I just finished university, after I took the computer security course, I went to Coursera and I also took a course around cybersecurity or information security around that, because I was curious, right? Even before I got the Cisco CyberOps scholarship opportunity. Platforms like Cybery, right, is a platform where you can create an account and have access to these resources freely. If you are interested in cybersecurity frameworks, for example, the NIST cybersecurity framework is free. Those ISO ones are sold, but at least you can have access to the NIST cybersecurity framework. A lot of these frameworks actually share a lot of similarities, right? And also, put your ears down on the ground. Seek for, free courses, free certifications. Like I said, I started out in cybersecurity using the Cisco CyberOps course at that time, which was on a scholarship. In recent time, or during COVID, there was a time Fortinet themselves were doing free courses. I think a couple of those. In recent time, maybe the last 1 year or two, ISC Squared themselves have released a free course, CC in cybersecurity. Those are areas you can start, and especially for entry level or those who are new in the field, these certifications are recognized. And sometimes for someone to give you the opportunity, they need to see that you are making efforts, right? The opportunity will come. However, like I've said, you need to be prepared for it. And how do you prepare yourself? Is by making use of all these resources that are freely available to you. So another thing you can do is, also get a mentor. However, if you get a mentor, you need to be ready to put in the work, because you are taking up someone's time and also maybe taking an opportunity that someone else or access someone else could have had to the mentor, and you're not utilizing it properly because you're not putting in the work, right? So having to continually upskill helps you, like I said, with the confidence, so that when the opportunity comes, you have some of this information. You don't have to know it all. And also, whatever you know, you need to have confidence in it, because sometimes when you read some of these things, it's like, okay, it's like you read it and you woke up the next morning, you didn't even know it's in your head anymore until someone actually really talks about it. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that way. It's like, okay, I've read this, I don't think I know what is there. Until someone talks about it and you're talking like, it's actually in my head. So, I mean, read, seek knowledge. I mean, depending on the way you study best through videos. I mean, I'm more of a visual person, so I would use videos. You can listen to podcasts, and I have a couple which I like really well, like the Darknet series, like the Security Now. So if you download the podcast app, you can find them over there. And most importantly, when given the opportunity, make sure you do not waste it, because if you do that, you've just taken up an opportunity someone else earnestly desire, and you've wasted it.
Thank you so much, so much, so much. I probably have one more question, but I will then ask anyone, in case you have question to ask, Doyin, you can drop it in the chat. I will pick it up and I'll read your question. The last thing I want to ask is, from your perspective, if you would want to advise someone who is probably new in cybersecurity, and as you have mentioned, there are different areas, and as well there are different certifications. If you would like to, based on the trend that you have seen in technology, which area would you suggest that someone can just maybe try and read up on this area and see whether you'll be interested in it?
Yeah, maybe because of the way I started out in cybersecurity, I started out from a small team, which means I did everything. However, years down the line, I've seen the way it differentiates me from others, right? Because I have a broad insight. So that's why I'm sometimes careful when I to tell people that focus on this area. Get as much information as you can, right? When I started out, I was doing SOC at the center, I was doing vulnerability management, I was doing PCI DSS, I was also everywhere. But it got to a point where I even moved from the more technical side to the.
Okay, is it me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's
going.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, I think you just, so if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat. I will ask Doyin when she joins back. We are pretty close to the end of our conversation, and if you have any question, drop it. Doyin will pick it up as soon as she joins back. And Bamidele, if you're on the call, I think you can let me know so that I can give you the right to share, so that we can. So Bamidele, I think it's Bamidele, right? That has developed something to share with everyone. So, hi, Doyin.
I think my net was off at the point.
Welcome.
And I just realized I was off. Oh,
yeah. Welcome.
I
So you were talking about you basically touched every area.
Oh, yes, exactly. So most importantly, seek knowledge. And when you're able to have visibility into those areas, then you know, okay, this area is of interest to me, right? And with the way cybersecurity, every area is quite connected. So even if you focus on this area, there's one day a conversation around that is going to touch on other areas of cybersecurity. It's not in silos, right? So as much knowledge. However, for new areas, I think people can have a look at. Of course, even we who have spent years in the industry are still trying to get a grasp of also is the latest trends in AI, right? So that's also another area that people can have a read up on and see what is happening there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doyin. I think I've exhausted the questions that I have, and thank you for giving us this time. Consultant, they charge per hour.
Exactly, I should charge you.
I can't pay you now, right? All right. I mentioned earlier that we have. So I'll just look at the chat. If I have any question, I'll let you know. I mentioned earlier that Bamidele wants to share some information with us on. I think he has done some. He wants to make some presentation. So Bamidele, if you are there, let me know so that I can give you. Okay, there are some questions. Oh, sorry. Oh, there are some questions. Yeah, there's a question. Someone is asking, what are the most recognized certifications for a newbie in cybersecurity pursuing a career in GRC?
Yeah.
And how should one prioritize based on industry demand and career progression?
Okay.
So what's the most recognized certification for a newbie in cybersecurity pursuing a career in GRC?
Okay, that's fine. So first thing I would like to say before I mention a certification is even with GRC, I believe having a broad understanding of what cybersecurity is, even the technical components, even if you're not going to practice, is very important. So if I recommend a course for you at the start, I'll recommend courses such as Security Plus. Of course, maybe Cisco CyberOps. I don't even know if it's still in existence, right? It's been a while I've done that. Yeah, but like courses like Security Plus, it gives you that understanding, the background understanding of how everything works, how everything actually connects, right? So having that understanding, of course, you now have to look at specific areas around GRC, like having to look at the NIST cybersecurity publication, right? I think that's 853. You can have a look at that. You can now start, you can, if you want, you can take courses around ISO 27001. Yeah. You can ISO 27001, ISO 22301, which is around BCMS, because there's also a part of cybersecurity that touches on cyber resilience, right? And which, of course, a part of it looks into ISO 22301. So you can look at those areas, look at the cybersecurity frameworks. However, I would advise everybody at the very start, you shouldn't just go around understanding, these are the compliance requirements, these are the framework, these are blah, 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 without understanding how all of those things operate. Because as a GRC professional, you're just going to keep talking and what are you saying? You don't even know how this is going to be implemented. So you're making recommendations that do not make sense. So have that understanding. So it makes you a better GRC professional.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think that point of view, understanding before you then govern, I think
exactly.
it's very
very
important.
important.
Yeah, very important. Thank you for that. I think that's it.